Well, Frank's going to make a move on this one. It's gone. Home run Clemente. And the Pirates 2, the Orioles nothing.
Here's Lemieux. The center penalty coming up. Look at Lemieux. Oh my goodness. What a goal. What a goal. Lemieux. Oh baby.
Welcome to all our Pittsburgh Sportsline fans and friends. We appreciate you. Thanks for the great feedback from our last Zoom show, which was our first. Smoking Jim and I are excited to do this show. Thanks for watching us on Comcast 7. Haven't said it in a while, almost forgot. Comcast 7 only in Bethel Park. Thanks for watching us on Verizon 32 everywhere in the greater Pittsburgh area, from Nemacolin to Cranberry, Wexford, and all points in between. We appreciate it. We even have friends in Ambridge. John Panaris, big fan there in Ambridge. Love the show. Says there's no stopping us. So I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. I got Smoking Jim Frazier here, and he's in his car. Well, let me do my promos, so you got to listen to me for another couple minutes. Don't forget Olive Oil's Pizzeria, Hillcrest Shopping Center, 412-831-1900. You can order their pizza and all their Italian foods and delicacies there. Give them a call. Tell them Al Levine, the talking machine, said we want to keep doing business with you during this corona. So check them out. Next up, in honor of Joey Fabus. He died of cancer before his 10th birthday, and it's now 6 years, and his family's really grieving over it, and it's the second child they lost, but they've raised over $100,000 to help with fundraising and finding a cure for DIPG, the dreaded brain cancer that took Joey's life. You can go to the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation, donate $1, see when we can do events. We're hoping to do the 5K 1 mile Joey Fabus run, where they dress up like superheroes at the Bethel Park High School. So hopefully restrictions will ease up a little bit, where we'll stay 6 feet apart and run like crazy. So we'll see what happens there. Next up is local Bethel Park Historical Society, Arts History. It's a Schoolhouse Arts and History Center. So sorry for me misspeaking there. My paper fell down. And it's located 2600 South Park Road. They do a lot of great things, have events when they're allowed to in Bethel Park, do great things in our community, and it's a great building, 50 new windows, brand new roof, and it's over 100 years old. So you check it out, 2600 South Park Road. They're a nonprofit. Go to their website, see about donating money or your time. They appreciate the volunteers because they're constantly remodeling and updating this great facility. Next up, Dave Cable likes to have fun at my expense. I Want You for BPTV. When the corona's over, we're going to need volunteers, and we're a volunteer-based nonprofit here. So if you can call them at 412-831-3304. Tell them Uncle Al, the talking machine, sent you. Now I got one more promo. The Bethel Park Community Foundation. They've been around for 25 years, have raised over $970,000. They gave away over $100,000 to local groups in our area that are doing great things in Bethel Park. So go to bpcf.org. And I'm a trustee on the board. We have meetings when we're allowed to, and we'll have them back again soon. So if you need money for your group and organization, we will help you. Check it out. All right, enough for those promos. We got to talk some sports. There hasn't been much sports going on. Smoking Jim, what are you doing with this lack of sports?
Well, I tell you what, Al Levine, the talking machine, this morning I cut my grass here in beautiful Monroeville, PA, where we don't have any killer hornets, but I'm sure Penn Hills and Plum got them. So
No, it made it to, let me explain something to you since you only pay attention to half the news. The murder hornets arrived in the state of Washington. You know where that is? On the West Coast.
I heard of it.
About 3,000 miles away, buddy. So it's not going to get here right away.
Seattle Seahawks, right?
Yes. You know the teams. Definitely. Glad you do, buddy. So you cut your grass. How did that go?
Man, I tell you what, Al Levine, the talking machine, it looks pretty good now. It was a little wet, but
well, it's cool out there. Of course, you don't feel hot or cold, so it was all right for you.
Yeah, sure enough. But hey, my condolences go out to Don Shula and his family. And I tell you what, Al Levine, the talking machine, Don Shula was a guy, in my opinion, the greatest coach of any sport on any level. And I grew up a big Miami Dolphin fan, which was really unusual in the black community because all my cousins, uncles, my dad, they all loved the Steelers, Kansas City Chiefs, and Oakland Raiders.
Well, so did you. So did you love the Steelers.
Well, you figure back in 1972, the Steelers and Kansas City Chiefs and the Oakland Raiders were the only NFL football team that had more black players than white players on their team. And I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, and they only have 3 black players on the whole team: Larry Little, Paul Warfield, and who's the other one? And Mercury Morris.
Wow.
And but they were a great team. They beat the Steelers all the time. And Chuck Noll was a guy that learned from Don Shula and brought that same philosophy here, but he just couldn't beat the master. And I always say the biggest upset. What do you say, Al Levine, the talking machine, is the biggest upset in pro football history?
When they did the fake punt return for a first down and beat us.
Well, I was
Garo Yepremian.
Well, no, that was the punter Seipel that did the fake punt.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, the biggest upset in the history of the NFL, most people say, is the Jets beating the Baltimore Colts when Don Shula was the head coach of the Colts.
Right.
But I say the biggest upset in football history was in 1964, when the Baltimore Colts was clearly the best team in football. Of course, that was before you and our time, but the Baltimore Colts was great. They had the best record in football, only had 1 loss. They go into Cleveland, who didn't have that good of a record. Cleveland was the first year without Paul Brown, and the Baltimore Colts was supposed to blow them out, but at that time, you could have the best record and still have worst record and still play the championship game at your home. They came in there, and at the time, the Baltimore Colts had a band.
Wow.
And before the game, the band played on the Cleveland sideline taps.
No way.
That fired up Jimmy Brown and those guys, and they blew out the Baltimore Colts 27-0. So, in my opinion, that's the biggest upset in NFL history.
What'd you learn from that? Don't bring your band and have them play taps.
Well, I learned a lot over the year with Don Shula, and I tell you what, this is a guy, man, that whoever thought that a guy who ran the football like Don Shula, with Larry Zonka, maybe the greatest running back of all time, and Mercury Morris and Jim Kick and Bob Greasy as a quarterback, that they would change to a passing team with Dan Marino. So he was a guy that, wasn't too old. The game never really passed him by. And the football world and community is going to miss Don Shula for real. I want to get some DNA for his kids because can't none of them coach. So they must have took after their mama's side of the family. But,
you just never know, buddy. You don't know about that DNA. We get half and half, so we don't know which one will be stronger.
That's true.
Hey, I got a story for you about going to see the Dolphins play because I was like a closet fan of the Dolphins back in the day because the Steelers sucked. So the same old Steelers, I hated watching the Steelers in the early 70s until they got Joe Green in 69 and started playing better.
Yes,
You've got
sir.
Terry Bradshaw. But
Yeah.
let me sip a little green tea here.
Hey, enjoy.
Here's to you, brother, and all our fans every day. Excuse me. So I got married in 81, and my brother-in-law was living in West Palm Beach.
Wow.
So he invited me and my ex-wife at the time. Why don't we come down for a Miami Dolphin game at the Orange Bowl? So me being a fan of sports, and my ex likes sports, and, you know, going to Florida, how can you go wrong with that, right?
Right.
So we go there to his house, and it's all guys. We get in the car. He goes, we're going to Miami, and wait till you see where we park. I go, where are we going to park? In the lot. He goes, no, it's too crazy. We're going to park in front of somebody's front yard. So we go down there, and there's all these houses, and people are going Cinco, Diez, Nueve. And I go, what the heck is that? He goes, that's what they charge for you to park in their yard.
Wow.
I go, it doesn't even look safe here, Bill, to even park. He goes, I've been doing this for years. They're great. He goes, we're going to go to this next place. I've been there before. It's only $5. And they watch your car and everything.
Okay.
They had 6 other cars. They put us in another car. That was their front yard.
Wow.
We parked there. We went and saw, I think it was the Dolphins against the Vikings then, and Danny Marino was playing like he always does, and that was my first time ever at the Orange Bowl, and what a place it was. It was packed, and we had a lot of fun. I don't even remember who won the game. We had so much fun, and it was just a great experience seeing a legendary coach live, manipulating his players and putting the scheme out there, and I just always respected Don Shula. And it's a shame he didn't win more Super Bowls or even one with Dan Marino, you know, but hey, that happens. He still had 347 wins. Nobody's even close to that right now.
I think they said if Coach Tomlin wins 10 games a year for the next 19 years, he still won't have the record.
Hey, that's my point. And then here's the other thing. I wanted to bring this up. You know, I like a little trivia.
Yeah.
How about he had only 2 losing seasons in 33 years?
Are you serious? Wow.
Let me repeat it again. 2 losing seasons.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. Now, Coach Tomlin got him beat there. I don't think he's ever had a losing season.
Well, he's only done it for about 12 years. So. And you're always there's a bone of contention that I have with you and others. You give the Steelers a D to D- every year.
Every year.
Now, what I don't understand is you're a smart guy. You watch 2 films a day. You know the ins and outs of players. You pick hidden gems in the draft, but you give them a D every year. Now, answer this question without throwing in he started with Cowher's players, because Cowher's last year he was 8-8, and that's not really a good record because they didn't want to be great. Last year Cowher was here, was 8-8. So Tomlin has not had a losing season in the 12 years he's been here. Now, if their drafts have been so bad, how are they winning and not losing each year? I need an answer, and so do our fans.
Hall of Fame quarterback.
I told my son that overcomes almost everything. I told Drew, and he goes, are you serious? I go, that's why Smoking Jim gets away with, look at 2016. There ain't one player from the draft on the team. So
that's right.
I become a believer of you, but I think some of the coaches and some of the scouts have done well with certain picks, and they're key players on our team.
Very well said by L. Levine, the talking machine.
Oh, thank you, brother. I need another sip.
But hey, man, before we, you brought back memories of the Orange Bowl. You know, I used to go to Miami every year, and I used to go to the Orange Bowl. They used to play a high school football game there called the Soul Bowl.
Really?
It used to get 50,000 fans. It was between two all-black high schools, Northwestern High School, which is in Liberty City, and Jefferson High School. And that's when I first saw Antonio Bryant play.
Wow.
And Antonio Bryan at the time didn't have any scholarships, and Pitt had one scholarship to give, and they had brought in one of his teammates, and I told them they should grab this kid, Antonio Bryant, that they never heard of, and the rest is history. What a great player. But I tried to bring the Soul Bowl here, the Couple Stadium, and we had it 2 years in a row with Westinghouse High School and Peabody High School, which is the intercity rivalry. And but then they closed down Peabody and reopened it as Obama.
Right. But the house is legendary.
Yeah, the
right?
house was. I think the house won 21 out of 23 City League championships, and then they didn't win for like 2 years, and then they went on another 25 winning streak at one time under Pete the Imperio and some of those guys. Yeah, Westinghouse was great. I tell you what, a lot of Coach Pete Annamarino, who's Italian. Of course, I thought Don Shula till yesterday was Italian. He's Hungarian. I never knew that.
Hey, Smoking Jim, my grandmother come from Budapest, Hungary in the early 1900s. So I'm a second generation Hungarian born in the United States because my mother was the first generation from her mother, and I'm the second generation.
Never heard of it. I mean,
yeah.
That shocked me.
Budapest.
I thought anything ending with a vowel, you was Italian. All this time I'm thinking Don Shula was Italian, and here he's Hungarian.
Smoking Jim.
Who knew?
I don't know what they taught you in Gateway, but my name's Levine. It's a Jewish heritage name, and the last letter is an E.
Well, I used to think you was Italian. A lot of people think you're Italian.
So a lot of them do. Yeah. When I played baseball, I was a good pitcher, and they go, Lavini's pitching today.
Wow.
Because I had Strategos, I had Floriolis, I had DeMeos, I had Russos, I had Piccininis. I had all the Italians right next to me. Floriolis. Yeah.
Well, I had a lot. When I pitched, I had a lot of Italians on my team, too.
And you know what? None of them remember that. Because I got my Italian connection to check it out. They said Smoking Jim was a skinny, Urkel-looking kid that could run fast.
Maybe they weren't Italian. Maybe they were Hungarian, man. I don't know.
Hey, I know the Hungarians. I know the Hungarians, so definitely. And my grandmother's maiden name was Hertz, like the car company.
Really?
Hertz. You've heard of that?
Where did OJ work for Avis, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's the other one. Hertz is the other one. Okay. Yeah.
Right. They were number one, I think. So who knows? Yeah. Enough of that. Let's get back to football a little bit. Any word on your picks? Because I'm getting feedback, good and bad, about what you're saying.
Yeah.
The picks.
Well, you know, Al Levine, the talking machine. Right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers put their their player option on their greatest linebacker in team history, T.J. Watt. I think he's going to be $100 million linebacker. You know, we grew up with the $6 million man, and this is a $100 million man. You know, people are still, I put a post up on Facebook, got about 200 comments, and most of them thought it was too early to say T.J. Watt is the greatest Steeler linebacker of all time.
Hold it. Let me interrupt you. I've been saying this after the first year. You got to get some more time on his side. And you're only 6 years into it. You're still saying the same rhetoric all the time, and you like stirring people up. How about getting Andy Russell in the Hall of Fame first?
I would. You know what? We got to get free lunch, Ed Bouchette, off the Hall of Fame committee. If you or I was on the Hall of Fame committee, Andy Russell would be a shoo-in to get in the Hall of Fame. Donnie Shell would have been in long time ago. Myron Cope was the greatest advocate. Is that a word?
Yes. It's in the dictionary.
Hey,
Here, I'll get my dictionary.
I don't have one of those.
I'll open it up for you. Here you go.
But here's the difference. This is all you need to know about Free Lunch Ed Bouchette, who's a friend of mine.
I know.
When Myron Cope was there, they got so many Pittsburgh Steelers in. It was a shoe-in. Pittsburgh is they are only second to Dallas Cowboys as America's team.
Right.
Now with Free Lunch Ed Bouchette, the lie is that they're not putting any more Steelers in. What a big, huge lie that is. They just don't have anybody has any credibility pushing for.
They don't have an advocate. They don't have an advocate.
I like that. I got to look it up. Now I can talk into my phone. I can get these words to pop right up, brother.
Well, start with the A words. You got a good one there. No, but I'm actually friends with Andy Russell, and I've talked to him a few times over the years. What a great guy.
And this is a guy that lost a couple years in his prime because he fought in the war. A lot of people don't realize that, but he was a 10-time team captain at Pittsburgh Steelers, a record that will never be broken. Heart and soul of the team, 2-time Super Bowl champion. He should have been in. But listen, Andy Russell ain't getting in. James Harrison ain't getting in. Joey Porter ain't
killing
getting
me.
in. But first ballot Hall of Famer T.J. Watt is getting in, and I think he'll do linebacker U, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers very, very proud when he goes in as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm since you don't have much for the whole rest of the team except for Big Ben. What do you think of Big Ben? They say he's going to come back better. Do you believe that?
Well, if he don't get eaten by a bear, you see him laying out there with a bear, hey, I said it before and I'll say it again. I love Big Ben. Big Ben was just a special quarterback. The greatest quarterback in Steeler history. That's saying a lot because Terry Bradshaw was a phenom. But, hey, I would have let Big Ben go. I'd have traded him. I'd have got rid of him. This is, the Duck Hodges era. He showed me so much. I mean, sooner or later, you gotta have life without Ben Roethlisberger. San Diego was smart enough to get rid of Phillip Rivers. New England was smart enough. They got rid of him
too late. They got rid of Phillip Rivers about 2 years too late.
Really?
He was throwing all kind of interceptions and missing passes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he dropped, just like you see how Duck dropped off in his last few games. It was the same type of thing. Duck dropped off. You're oblivious to it because you don't even drink, but you'd like to have maybe a large ginger ale with them. That's how you like him, because he's a guy you could have a ginger ale and share duck calls with.
Well, I tell you what, don't count him out yet.
I'm counting him out.
I think if Don Shula was the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Duck would flourish. Don Struck flourished under Don Shula. He had some mediocre quarterbacks in between Greasy and Dan Marino, and they made it to the Super Bowl. Duck is a phenom.
Yeah, but he did have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks that were fantastic, Don Shula.
Yeah, but in between,
right.
He had some pretty bad quarterbacks and still made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I know.
So that's coaching.
And then you didn't even mention he had the only undefeated season ever in 1972.
I'm still celebrating that, brother.
I know every year you make a comment about it, buddy. You're consistent. No doubt about it. Yeah. What do you think about if they're going to even start the season, since they're starting to open up the country, but they're talking about having games with no fans in it?
Well, like I said before, I would have shut down basketball and baseball because they're not important. Football runs this country. People love football. They love to gamble. They love to bet. Football's the one sport you don't need anybody in the stadium. The Pittsburgh Steelers in the '60s played the empty stadium all the time at Pitt Stadium.
Yeah, but they have something. They have something new, Smoking Jim. It's called TV revenue.
Yes. Yeah.
They get billions of dollars and the teams make lots of money. So
Yeah.
it's a good system where they don't need it. Like hockey probably won't open up because they need the fans in their arenas. They're talking about they may not even open if they can't have fans. They may not even play the game. I don't know if you know that because you don't follow too much else. But
yeah. Who cares about hockey, basketball, and baseball?
I do. I'm a fan of all sports.
All we really care about is football, and it will
Wow.
be football, and it will be on time, and it's going to be outstanding and awesome because football is one sport, L. Levine, the talking machine, where they don't have guaranteed contracts. So these big guys, man, and most football players are still dumb jocks, L. Levine, the talking machine. So they don't have, if they don't play, you got to play for your soup in football, man. So
I understand.
if you don't play, you don't get paid.
They've started to give some guaranteed money, though, because the union, to me, I know what strong unions are and weak unions are, and the NFL Players Union's weak, because I just wanted to share this for our fans. I negotiated 7 multi-million-dollar contracts at the Press and Post-Gazette from the age of 22, and I learned one rule, that when you get an offer from the company, reject it. And if it's a first offer, you definitely reject it. And you know why? Because that's usually the worst offer on the table. And what did I learn? 36 years of being in a union. The NFL Players Association is one of the weakest I've ever seen in action. They accepted the first offer from these billionaires.
Wow.
The first offer, they accepted it, and the people complaining about it were all the top echelon players who make the millions. So what the companies did and the billionaires did, they appealed to the pot-smoking younger players that they're going to get more money and they can smoke pot and not get tested. So they signed a contract because there's more of them than the stars. That's how I look at it, real simple.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, but I got to cover at least a couple other sports. So you don't care about baseball?
No.
Okay, they may start possibly in July, and
Why?
they could be playing. Well, because they have to wait for like 3 things. The corona's receding. You're allowed to have big gatherings, and players don't have to all be quarantined. So they're going to need 3 rules to pass that. But then if they can't have fans, their baseball contracts would cover them. So they're tentatively talking about a July start, maybe July 4th. And then here's the crazy part. They want to play till December, weather permitting, because how do you play baseball outdoors? They only have 8 domed ballparks out of 32.
Wow.
So there's only 8 places that have a dome. So how are you going to play when it's snowing in December and November?
Good point.
So they may not even put on a season this year is what I'm thinking. That'll happen.
Shut it down.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, I would. Why? Why not? I mean,
You're like an emperor. You're like the emperor in Rome. They're just pieces of meat.
Yeah, it's only football. Hey, L. Levine, the talking machine, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
In recent history, didn't baseball skip the World Series at one time? So this is not nothing new. It's just another year without a World Series.
Well, it's a whole season, too.
Yeah,
This would be a whole season.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different here.
Now, does Seattle Mariners, do they have a dome stadium?
I think they do.
Well, now you go there and you got all the killer hornets.
Yeah, but they only come out in the spring and summer. During football season, they're dying. They're hiding in their holes underground.
Well, that's what we're talking about. The Mariners, that's where they play in the spring and the summer. Killer hornets, man. Shut it down, man.
Well, I'll explain something for everybody that's fearful. In Japan, there's only 50 people a year that die because of the murder hornets.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, here, let me explain why they're called that. These poor little honeybees that are dying out because of all the chemicals and stuff and the beekeepers, the honeybees, these murder hornets go in there and they chop their heads off with the way their jaws are. They chop the heads off of all the honeybees. In a few hours, they can wipe out a whole hive. So that's what they do in Japan. And they've only killed 50 people in a year, which is terrible. But that's compared to millions of people that live there. But the poor honeybees get wiped out.
I didn't know that.
Now you know. Instead of seeing a headline on Facebook and seeing that ugly face.
Well, I seen a killer hornet kill a mouse on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, and I see some of the memes
Oh, you
that
okay? I thought I heard the police siren.
They are.
Is Bethel Park Vice, Miami Vice on their way, brother?
That's the ambulance coming by.
Okay.
We got a senior folks home right next to me, and I got the cemetery, so I don't know where they're going. But I'm safe here. I'm safe. That's what happens on live Zoom. You hear everything.
Well, let me ask you this, Al Levine, the talking machine, since you brought up baseball.
Yeah.
I think yesterday is the anniversary of the greatest baseball player who ever lived, Pete Rose, going
Excuse
past
me?
Ty.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Breaking Ty Cobb's record of 4,200 hits or something, man. That's incredible, don't you think? How can somebody have 4,000 hits? That's incredible.
Well, how did Ty Cobb win like 12 batting championships?
Wow.
How did he lead the major leagues in steals for all those years till the 60s and 70s when you had some good stealers out there running the base paths? But how did Ty Cobb do that? He didn't cheat. He didn't cheat. He hated black people, sharpened his spikes, cut people up on first base, second base, third base, and home. He stole home with spikes flying, and he played the game, got in fights in the stands because he was calling them bad words and things. And I know you don't like him because he was prejudiced, and you're not, so I understand that. But Pete Rose was the greatest singles hitter that'll never be in the Hall of Fame, and nor should he, since he signed that he was caught gambling on baseball. And that's one of the rules that they put in after the 1919 White Sox. They said, fix the game. And my man Shoeless Joe, who had nothing to do with it, couldn't even read and didn't even get any money. He got banned. So poor Pete's got to stay banned.
Well, isn't Alex Karras and Lynn Dawson in the Hall of Fame and Paul Horney?
Yeah, but like your football buddies and football fans, they believe in gambling. Look at Art Rooney. How did he buy the Steelers? He won a lot of money at a horse race because he bet on a horse that won and paid the $3,000 to buy the Steelers. Now, he owned racetracks and gambling casinos up until probably 10 years ago when they made the Rooneys divest themselves of casinos and racetracks.
Divest?
Yeah, divest of it. It's a D word.
Okay.
Let me bring that back out. I'll bring that back out. DI with a DI. Look it up, buddy.
Well, let me ask you this. Michael Jordan's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He'll gamble on anything.
Well, he's a known gambler, and he golfs on every hole in golf. So he's a good golfer, and he's won lots of money and lost money, too. He's not afraid, just like you are, to lose money and gamble because it's in your blood. It's stuck in that DNA.
Well, can I give you my Michael Jordan story? I spent 2 hours with Michael Jordan back in 1985. Can I do a fiction and fact on that?
Yeah, do that.
Well, you know, you already know, most people don't know, that Isaiah Thomas is a friend of mine, going all the way back for years. He used to come to Monroeville when he played for Indiana because probably the prettiest girl in the state of Pennsylvania history, Terry Wheeler, was a cheerleader at Indiana, cheerleader for the Pittsburgh Maulers, and a cheerleader for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, we're still dear friends to this day. You know, when I go to Atlanta,
of course, she got to be one of your Smoking Jim sweeties.
Well, she's just a beautiful lady, and but she lived in Alpharetta Her and her husband lived in Alpharetta, PA. I mean, in Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, real rich neighborhood. Matter of fact, before Evander Holyfield bought his 26-bedroom house and went bankrupt, he lived around the corner, and 2 houses down, Andre Rison lived there before Left Eye burnt it down. So Isaiah used to come, and every once in a while, every time he would come to Monroeville, he would bring a star. One year he brought in Ralph Sampson, 7'4".
Wow.
So we'd go up to the Boyce Park and play, because you can play all night long. And I tell you what, Michael Jordan wasn't the first one to freeze out Isaiah, because once I got the ball, brother, I put it up. And I tell you what, sometimes with Ralph Sampson and Isaiah, you won't believe this, but a lot of the games, I was the leading scorer, Al Levine, the talking machine.
Wow.
7'4" Ralph Sampson would get the rebound, and I'd be already at the other end of the hoop. I just stand there. They can play defense, just throw it down. I was cherry picking, brother. There's no sense in all of us playing defense, but we had a lot of fun. But anyhow, Al Levine, the talking machine, there used to be probably the greatest nightclub ever this side of Harlem, was in Monroeville, called the Holiday House. I know you probably visited there before.
I know it. I know it very well. Just ask our good friend Vince Ornato about the Holiday House.
Vince know a little bit about it?
He went out there underage and everything else and saw some great acts there. He loves it.
Man, the supper club was great. They had a comedy club in there, a nightclub, you just name it. Well, back in 1985, I wrote, I believe I ate over in East Liberty somewhere. I think it was Louis Lips's restaurant. But anyhow, Louis and them had a contract with Cameron Coca-Cola.
Sure.
And back then, remember Al Levine, the talking machine, Friday you hang out with the fellas and Saturday was for the girls, right?
Right.
So every Friday you could catch me at the Holiday House, brother. You talking about some women.
Get out. You must have been there when Vince Ornato was there. You two got to talk about that.
Well, you know what? I probably was there, and the hotel was there. Everything was there, man. You name it, the Holiday House had it.
I was there a couple times too.
Only thing I didn't participate in was the valet parking. I used to park in the McDonald's lot and walk across the street. So that's what I did this day. I walked across the street at Al Levine, the talking machine, and I see this black guy, bald-headed black guy, with an Adidas sweatsuit on.
Yeah. And
leaning up against the wall with his foot, you know how you got one foot up? And I looked. And at the time, Charles Smith and all them guys used to come, and you went to high school with the Nelson twins. Basketball players always look out of place because they were so tall.
Sure.
Charles Smith was like 7 foot, 100 pounds. Man, he always looked out of place when you seen him. But this guy was so smooth. It was Michael Jordan.
Right.
And Michael Jordan couldn't get in for 2 reasons. One, they didn't know who he was. And number 2, he had on tennis shoes. And back then, Al Levine, the talking machine, you couldn't get in the places with no tennis shoes.
Wearing a hat. And wearing a baseball hat.
Yeah. And this must be before his Nike contract, because he had an Adidas sweatsuit on, man, a black and red one. So I told Michael Jordan, I says, hey, listen, come on, you come in with me, man. I'll get you in with tennis shoes. So he was so happy. Man, we talked for about 2 hours, man. And then he pulled a Batman on me, man.
Oh.
I turned around and, hey, I was chasing the girls at that time, but we talked, man, a couple pretty girls came in. Time I got back to Mike, he was gone. But yeah, we talked for a couple of hours, man. It was awesome. And I think this documentary, have you been seeing this documentary on?
No,
I haven't watched it yet.
No, I haven't watched it yet either. It sounds interesting.
But Isaiah taking a lot of heat on there, man. Isaiah Thomas, don't forget, he used to always tell me, see, when he was in high school, you remember the Pan Am game?
Yeah.
Well, in 79, when he was in high school, he was MVP of the Pan Am games. And
That's
he'd have been a lock-in to be the Olympic gold medal champion in 1980, but we boycotted the Olympics.
Right.
And so that always broke his heart, because at that time you had to if you was a professional, you couldn't play in
Right.
the Olympics until the Dream Team came. And there's no doubt that Michael Jordan kept him off that team. You know, Isaiah Thomas should have, and he tells me to this day that one of his few regrets is that not being able to play on the Olympic team because he won it all: a high school national championship, college national championship, Player of the Year, NBA championships. Only thing not on his resume is other than sexual harassment. That's on
Right.
there.
Right.
But only other thing, not on his, he's a good friend of mine. He'll see this. He'll call me up. He got rabbit ears, brother. He will call.
I
But,
know he's gonna watch this. Hey, but I heard the backstory on why Michael Jordan didn't put Isaiah on the Olympic team when he was picking players, because Detroit and the Bulls played, and when the Bulls won, Detroit shunned them and didn't shake hands. So Michael Jordan was mad about it, as were all the Bulls, because you at least came over there, unlike Smoking Jim, and shook everybody's hand when they lost.
I never shook hands.
Yeah, Detroit
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah,
So that's why you and Isaiah got something in common there, that Michael Jordan didn't pick him because he was on Detroit and they lost and didn't shake their hands. How about that?
Well, But
That's
he put Larry Bird on there, and Larry Bird, when Detroit won, Larry Bird didn't shake their hand. The guy that they broke the mold when they made Jack Lambert. Jack Lambert never shook anybody's hand. Guys in that era, you didn't shake hands with the enemy, man. And
No, I understand that, but now everybody's buddy and they're softer now, so they
Yeah.
do that. But that's
Yeah.
what I heard why Isaiah didn't get on when Jordan was picking the players. So whether it's true or not, who knows? As you know, and you do, a lot of people make up sports stories based
Yeah.
on a little bit of information
yeah, that's true.
and no facts.
That's true. That's true.
We all know that, because look at when we get together with guys we played with, I didn't realize how great they were. Every year they get greater.
well, no matter how great Curtis Martin gets, as long as I'm on the committee, he ain't getting in the City League Hall of Fame. So
There's something
you can
wrong with
forget
you.
that.
My man, there's something wrong up there. There they go again, ambulance. Oh, we got action here.
I don't care if Free Lunch Ed Bouchette is advocating for Curtis Martin. He ain't getting in the City League Hall of Fame, bro.
Wow. You're brutal. You're brutal. So, well, enough of these stories. I wanted to get back to the NFL.
Okay.
They're talking about starting September 10th and ending the season January 3rd and having the Super Bowl February 7th, 2021. That's what they're looking at. And they're looking at cutting out bye weeks and other different things that would delay the season. So they're going to try to run it through and do it.
When they going to start the 17-game season? That's what I'm waiting for, 17, 18-game season.
21.
Good.
2021, buddy.
I can't wait for it, man. I hope I see a 25
I have a question for you. If they care about the players' health,
I don't.
I know if they care about the players' health, how can they put on a 17th game? You already said how you don't care. Does
Yeah.
that mean the owners don't care? They just worry about the money?
Well, I'm worried about being entertained, brother. And I know that 17 is better than 16.
Wow.
I like to even it out at 20 to 25. Nice round number, man.
How's 25 an even number? Come on. 20 or 24. Didn't they teach you math, odd and even, and gateway? Come on. You're making it easy to pick on me. I'm trying not to. I'm on my best behavior, buddy.
But hey, I think there's no question the NFL is going to play. Just like I predicted that they would have the NFL draft and it would go off and it'd be the greatest draft of all time, and it was. Listen, we got to worry about college football now. That's the big thing. I like to see college football because I like to bet on that.
I know.
so I'm not worried about the NFL. I'm worried about college football, man. These presidents and
seriously,
deans.
with the social distancing, how can you have fans at the games? I mean, it's bad enough that players are going to be spitting on each other, hitting each other, bleeding on each other, and they don't care about that. That's the point I wanted to make earlier when you're talking about the season. How can they justify a guy hitting you in the mouth, you spitting on him, swearing on him, calling him names, bleeding on him? How's that not a chance for corona to spread?
Well, they can afford to have everything monitored. You can afford to have as many trainers and doctors right there.
But one other thing they need, and maybe you don't know about it, but they need testing to see who has corona or who had corona. So I heard that the NFL is going to buy all the testing that they need to do it every week for the players. So you're right that the NFL is going to spend money, millions of dollars to get tests for their players. How about that?
Wow.
They're going to spend some of that money.
Whatever it takes.
I know. That's what they're taking a page out of your book. And then, like I wanted to share, like I did the last time, I'm not a fan of the draft. To me, it's one of the most boring times you could ever watch because you want to watch your team. Then you got to wait for 31 other teams to pick to see your team again. I'd tune in to other shows and watch the draft. But this time, I watched the draft a little more consistently because I appreciated all the no social distancing in every house of every player and the hugging and, loving there in the houses they lived in. I appreciated no social distancing, yet the NFL raised over $100 million to help defeat the coronavirus. So they did something good there, and people loved it. They like seeing the husky of Belichick in his house, the computers and the kids. These coaches, like you were saying, never saw their kids for 7-8 months out of the year, sometimes all year. They're high-fiving their dad. They didn't even know that was their dad, and they're giving high fives. So it was actually hilarious to watch all this. And it was a great distraction. And you were right that they did have the draft, and it went off successfully. Even Goodell was happy with it.
Hey, man, football is the king. Like I said, we're in a time where we have a pandemic.
Yeah.
Me and Floyd Mayweather have a hard time with that word. But
you said it right.
During this time, eliminate soccer, eliminate baseball, eliminate hockey, eliminate all those, eliminate graduations, everything. But you put all your focus in on the NFL and college football, and then you move on from there.
Wow, you heard it from Smoking Jim Frazier. How do you justify players running into each other and hitting each other? The testing and the doctors, right? They can do whatever they want.
Well, all I care about is when I turn on my big screen TV, then I'm entertained for 3-4 hours, brother.
Wow.
Until the next game starts.
How's that 92-inch TV?
Oh, man, it's wonderful, brother.
That'll be something. And you really think that Duck will be on the team this year?
Well, he's already on the team.
They might cut him.
No, they didn't draft a quarterback because they know what they got in the Duck.
No, I heard what they said. They said they're happy with Mason Rudolph. They never mentioned Duck.
That's fine.
I heard all these interviews with your friend Colbert and Tomlin, and they know what they have in Mason Rudolph, and they like him. They never mentioned Duck.
Always remember this. I remember back when I believe it was the Hall of Fame coach Bill Cowers last year. They had this kid that had been cut so many times that it's a shame he wasn't bleeding to death.
He needed a tourniquet. He needed a tourniquet to stop all the bleeding. He was cut so many times. I can help you.
His name was James Harrison.
Yeah.
And because he got a few bricks shy of a full load, this is a guy that went 4 years without an income after college, still trying out for the NFL. Nobody does that. Nobody can afford to do that but James Harrison.
Are you
And
saying nobody in their right mind would do that?
nobody in their right mind. And the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't realize. I knew that James Harrison was a great player. I watched him sack Big Ben 5 times in one game when he was in college. I knew he was a great football player. And the few times he got into the game, he showed that he could be a great player, but the Steelers didn't know what they had. So they went out and drafted a couple linebackers in the first 2 rounds of Coach Mike Tomlin's first year, and they all sat behind James Harrison because, hey, Duck will win it in preseason on the field sooner or later. Hey, they may not see it now, but sooner or later they're going to see the Hall of Fame potential of the Duck.
Explain to me how his arm isn't that strong, really.
Well,
I mean, he missed some passes that if he had a stronger arm, he would have been better.
Well, I tell you what he did was he showed to me that he was the best rookie quarterback in the 2019 class. So he's already at the top of his class. Number 2, without a quarterback coach and just being thrown in there, he did some outstanding things. And number 3, I always look for players that do things that you can't coach. And Duck did a few things that I've seen. I'm like, you can't coach this. And so now this year,
Tell me one. Tell me one thing. One thing he did.
One thing he did, and I tell you what, I'll show you on film.
Okay.
This is a guy that's a right-handed quarterback being blitzed, right, from his blind side. He spins out like a Fran Tarkenton or a Bob Greasy in their prime to his left, and was able to throw and complete a pass. That may sound simple while we're talking, but probably there's not been 5 quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League that can consistently do that, and Duck was able to consistently do that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I'm glad you're throwing all these big words out there. I'm not impressed. I'll just tell you seriously, I'm not impressed with the skill set of Duck. I like his confidence, but I'm disappointed in how he ended the season, not how he started the season.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Where was the West Coast offense implemented at? The West Coast offense was implemented with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Right.
And they had a quarterback that didn't have a strong arm by the name of Virgil Carter. And and the offensive coordinator was the genius that ended up being the head coach in San Francisco. And he implemented the West Coast offense on the East Coast. And Virgil Carter flourished. You look at
Joe Montana. So did Joe Montana.
Well, Joe Montana had a little bit better arm than
That's
Virgil
what I wanted you to say. Thank you.
And so did Steve Young. But
Thanks for being honest.
But look at Joe Kapp. Joe Kapp couldn't throw. Bobby Douglas couldn't throw. There's been a lot of quarterbacks that had success. Kilmer didn't have a great arm.
Wow, with the Washington Redskins.
Fran Tarkenton threw for over 40,000 yards, never had a strong arm. That's why Minnesota let him go. The Giants picked him up. The Giants let him go. He went back to Minnesota, and he always was a great quarterback, but they didn't believe in his arm strength. Some guys just got the intangibles.
Well, he could run, that's for sure. He could avoid sacks, and he could run.
Yeah, like Duck. When he's
well, Duck's not in that league. You're boosting him up like you boost up some of these other people, so I understand that. You fall in love with the player and you don't see any of his. It's like meeting that sweetie out there. You don't see any faults that she has. You see all the good things.
Now on for Thanksgiving, I ain't eating turkey. I'm eating duck.
I've eaten duck before, and you probably won't like it there. You got to watch. Really? Sometimes it can be too dry. You got to watch if they overcook the duck. It gets too dry.
Wow.
That's my
Wow.
tip of the day for you on cooking. As you know, I can cook. You've seen a couple of my pictures out there.
Man, hey, it makes it hard to believe that you can get down like that, man. I'm very impressed. I didn't know you could cook like that.
I like to eat. I'm like you. I like to make my own food, so I cook. I do some cooking there.
Well, you're 3 blocks away from all them great restaurants in Bethel Park, man. Everything is right there. Why
I
cook?
know. We hit a couple of them. We ordered pasta too a couple weeks ago during
Yeah.
Lent. Got some fish sandwiches that were this big. The fish sandwiches.
Wow.
It was me and my
Wow.
son Drew. We had great fish sandwiches and fries. We got 2 orders of fries, and we couldn't finish it. They said maybe you should just get 1. We got 2. The order of fries was huge. Their
From
food is
where?
great. Pasta too.
Wow. We went there before, remember?
I know. I
Yeah.
showed you that place.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
best around. Our friend Bonnie, she travels from Monroeville to go there and eat.
Who, Baby Doll?
Yeah.
Oh, nobody does that. Nobody
She
leaves
does it.
Monroeville. Nobody leaves Monroeville.
She does it.
She just wants you to feel good. Nobody
No.
leaves God's country.
You can ask her. You can ask her if that isn't the truth.
No. Hook her up to a lie detector test, brother.
She'll pass. She'll pass it with flying colors. I guarantee it. No doubt
Best-
about it.
Some of the best restaurants in this country is in God's country of Monroeville, man. Ooh,
We got our fair.
mama.
You're not going to them because you're staying at Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Man,
Give me
I
the bucket.
can't pass it. They got-
Give me
they
the
got a-
bucket.
They got a 10-piece dark meat special, brother. I'm there every other day, man.
Well, you don't show any pictures of that. I don't believe it. Well, I appreciate you doing the show from your car because that car is so small. You need a shoehorn to get in it. You probably
Good on
don't even have your shoes on. I
Good
know
on
that.
gas, brother. Good on gas.
I appreciate you doing the show for this. I want to thank Dave Cable and BPTV for letting us do this show. It's almost an hour we've been doing it, so I'm going to start to wind it down and thank everybody for watching our show, and we'll try to do a Zoom each week. That's our plan. There's not much sports to talk about, so I hope you appreciate some of the stories we shared with you, because as you know, the Talking Machine can tell some stories, although unlike Smoking Jim, mine are all true. And I don't have to look up a word in a dictionary to be an advocate of that. The truth will supersede everything. That's what I'm about. But thanks, Smoking Jim. Any things you want to say to your fans and friends?
Hey, go football.
NFL all the way, right?
That's right.
Well, thanks for watching our show. And I've been a little bit remiss. I always honor Joey Fabus. And I'll end this show with, please stay safe and healthy and stay Joey strong.